Again, good morning, friends, and welcome to this info session on professional certification. Now, some of you may be thinking around why we are talking about professional certification in procurement and supply chain. Is procurement a supply chain? What type of career it is? Why it is important to have a certification? So let me walk through the journey on this part. If you go back to 70s, procurement was purely a clerical function. Supply chain was also very smaller in range. It was very in silos oriented. It was not very complex. But over the years, if you look around in the last 20 years, procurement activities has also changed its form. If I go to those companies which I visited in the 70s and 80s, procurement was very small. And if anything was done, it was done all in sourcing. Or if it was done sourcing, it was done in the neighborhood. But today, the sourcing is done on a global basis. In addition, the volume of procurement has grown big. You go down to any big companies, including Maruti's. If I look at the sales revenue, the procurement contributes around 70% of that. That means if any savings has to come, any improvements has to come, that can only come from procurement. So that means the role of procurement has grown bigger for companies to become cost effective. Similarly, when we look at the supply chain side, when the supply chain was that my company, let's say, is in Gurgaon, the supplier is also based in Gurgaon, or nearby in the neighborhood in Delhi or somewhere in Punjab, supply chain was very short. Today, many of the goods are coming from all over the world. Some parts might be coming from Japan, some might be coming from Germany, raw material might be coming from Africa. Now, they have to go through so many modes of transportation from the sourcing, from the raw material stage, up to the supplier, then supplier manufacturing it, just giving it to you, and then you passing on to the warehouse, and then to the distribution centers. The supply chain has become much longer. Everybody's looking, I'm specifically talking about those companies which are global companies, which have spread their arms and legs all over the world. So naturally, their supply chain has become much complex. So that's the role of the role of supply chain has grown bigger. Look at the example of Apple. The turnover of Apple is around $300 billion, but they don't have a manufacturing of their own. At the end of the day, they basically have a supply chain, which was not there in the years if I go to 70s and 80s. But from 90s, I find all the big companies, from those who are doing in a very, this is becoming now, earlier they were vertically integrated, but now they're becoming horizontal. You go down to any big companies around, most of the parts are coming from other places. Ideas are coming from other companies around. But basically, they are doing system integration. And that's the one they're trying to sell all over the world. So in short, what I wanted to convey around the function of procurement and supply chain has grown much bigger, become more complex. You need even much more visibility and transparency. And nowadays we're talking of digitization and even we're talking of blockchain in this profession. So in short, so this is no more just placing of order. We're even looking into AI, we're looking into big data. So in short, there's a need to this become professional. So when we are calling as a professional, so when we say this function is a professional, is no more just a clerical function, that means there's a need for certification. Some of you might be thinking that I've done academic degrees. I'll certainly try to talk all the aspects. Since you know I'm not talking per se from ISM, but main focus would be, since my passion is in the supply chain, supply management, I would love to talk in generic way. So if you feel this function has become complex, so certainly there's a need to learn something more. Some people say, should I go to the academic degree? Should I do this only certification? Why should I do certification? Why global certification? What importance it carries around? I can, based on my experience of 4 decades, I can walk through all. I've done my MBA also. I've done the certification issues also. I can give you a correlation between different ones and different type of certification. So please feel free to ask any questions. you think of any other certification you feel good or bad, since I know most of them, I will be very happy to answer all the questions related to procurement, related to supply chain. So please feel free to ask as many questions. This is what I'm calling as info session. So let's try to understand, to begin with, what type of careers are there in this. Some people still think in the school and college, if you ask a schoolboy, they don't know what is supply chain. For them, procurement is just a buying or a shopping. So in short, they are not aware of the meaning of this profession. They are not aware of the importance of this profession. So this is where firstly I will try to convey what are the career opportunities in this around. So with this, let me start with few things. So firstly, I'll explain about the PSM. When I'm saying it is calling procurement and supply management, the profession is in transition, it's changing. It is no more what it was 3 decades back, what it was 2 decades back. And I can assure you, in the decade to come further, this will again go through big transformation. So the transformation, evolution is going on ongoing basis. Then the question comes, the need for certification and possible choices. So I will be very happy. If you have any questions, please do ask me all possible choices around. And I can easily make a comparison in an honest way, what is good for whom and what. Then naturally, a little bit I like to explain about ISM also, what it can help you, and then the overview of various program. We have received many questions, so my interest would be that to cover those questions first, then keep the session open for any questions. So I will be very happy to extend the session if required, and my interest would be to answer all the questions, whatever you guys have. Now, firstly is what is certification? I think since the subject is certification, I think there's a need to understand what is certification. First thing is the word is professional. If the function is requiring a professional studies, that's what means professional. Professional certifications, you may shortly call certification, is given by third party attestation of an individual's level of knowledge. So technically what they're trying to do is they're checking your knowledge, they're checking your proficiency, they're checking your competency in a certain profession. Now these professions again could be at different levels. I know one of the person has sent me the question also on this. These could be at different levels. The level could be at the very beginner level, the technical level, could be operational level, could be at the manager level, could be at a professional level, at a senior professional level. So each case, the test cannot be same. So in short, there are different levels also there around. And these certifications are given by professional societies. And some universities also do it. Universities give it more as an academic way, but the professional societies, they give you certifications. They are not seen, that's the difference between academic and the professionals. Now, when we talk of academic universities, there's a book of knowledge, there's a study book, you read the book. If you read the book, everything has to come from that. They basically assess your knowledge of the terminologies and knowledge of the subject, but not the application of it. So the application part, where I can use it, how I can use it, like say if I know Incoterms. I grabbed, oh, I know Incoterms. But if I ask a guy, what happens if the ship is coming on a CIF basis, my goods are coming, the captain has thrown my goods into the sea, who is accountable, how it is accountable, the application part, the knowledge may be missing. So this is where the difference comes. The professional society, they basically do the certification based to assess your competency. And when they assess the competency, it is not just the knowledge. It is the knowledge, it is the skill, and your ability also. Some people have a knowledge because they have crammed the book. They can get 100% marks. But the skill is not there. They don't know how to apply it. The ability is not there. When I say of ability means they are not able to do in a quick and shorter way. So this is where now the certification which are given by professional societies, I know in many countries they have started, but still I would say, being in India, I would still say the global is the best because that is known worldwide. This profession, you guys are moving around. Today you're working in India, tomorrow maybe in Singapore, third time maybe in the US, because the companies are becoming multinationals. And they look for those who have a global certification. So here my request would be, if any certification you're looking around, should be global, which is known worldwide. Now, these certifications which are given are time limited compared to the one which is given by the colleges. College gives you bachelor of something, master of this thing, and for 20 years you are not practiced, but you still carry the degree with you. But these certifications are time limited. That means if I'm given for 3 years, and in 3 years I have not even practiced this, the certification, the designation which is given to you is not applicable. So that designation, you have to earn it. Earning does not mean that you have to appear for the exam again. You need to be in touch with that. You need to attend some sessions around. You maybe like to be a speaker, be a volunteer, whatever function. I'll touch on those parts, how to get those education credits. Now, renewals, as the last bullet talks around, is continuing education is required. See, the field is changing so fast. I remember when I passed out from IITs in 70s, for 10 years there was no change. Whatever I've learned, my growth is only by experience, nothing more than that. But today's, the subjects are going through major changes. You might have done computer engineering, but today if you talk about computer engineering, you need different type of skills. So skill expectations are changing in the world. That means you have to be in line with the subject on a continuous basis. Let's talk about the career now. First thing, what is the career opportunity? Career in procurement and supply management. As I said to you, there's no business without spending. That's the first step, any business. And if you're spending too much money, you're wasting your funds, and that means your profit is being eaten away. And if you're trying to become very stringent and trying to save money here and there, you might be compromising on quality and your services might be damaged. In both the scenarios, you're putting the business in jeopardy. So you need effective procurements. As I said to you, from 70s to now, when I look around in the 44 decades, today all the top companies, their procurement volume, including if I take logistics and everything around, the complete supply activities, 70% of the total sales revenue. So you can imagine you guys have a big purse to handle. And that purse, if you're able to make good effective use of it, you bring the bottom line better. So career in procurement supply management, the way I look around, is exciting. It is not the old fashion it was 3 decades back. Somebody will give you the name and that supplier will remain a lifetime with you. You're not looking around left and right or the worldwide, what changes are happening, what new technology has come. So the world is changing very fast. So that's the way I look around, is a very exciting careers. You see the results immediately. If you get some good idea from a supplier and you implement and your company is able to get a better sales, more better profit, you feel confident, guys, I've done something. I started my career with design and I felt when I was doing design in the 70s, we were copying it, nothing more. In spite of doing masters and PhD, whatever you may call, you feel frustrated that, guys, what I'm contributing to the company. But today I would say, when I moved into the supply functions after being in the US, I felt this is much more rewarding. Your results can be seen quickly. That's the way I look at it. Now coming as option as a career now. Now when I look at the India, yes, India was not that much export oriented except in the IT business. But now the trend is coming with Make in India, this one. So I think the industrial scenario is changing. And when the industrial scenario changes, you know very well, in any manufacturing, supply chain contributes a big thing. And then e-commerce has come up in a big way, whether it's a Flipkart, whether it's Amazon, whether talk of anyone's around, they survive on supply chain. Their success and failure depends on supply chain. Uberization, sharing of services, again supply chain. Travel services, again supply chain. At the end of the day, you're connecting the supplier and the customer through a chain. So the chain could be for services, the chain could be for goods also. So I would say it's again exciting career when I look from the supply chain side also. Any business, whether it's a retail business or maybe a small retailer, but my goods are coming from different part of the places. The bread might be coming from somewhere, the eggs might be coming somewhere. They're all supply chain. So those supply chain I could integrate into my commerce. So the mode of operation has to change. At the end of the day, I think supply chain is the only one which can improve your customer experience. You might be in a hospital. There is also, again, supply chain. Patients are waiting till they come out. It's also a chain. So that means this profession of supply chain, supply management, procurement, I would say is exciting. Transportation is another area. Logistic is another one. E-commerce is another one. Manufacturing, yes. FMCG, healthcare. You talk of any areas around, wherever there's a spending, where there is transportation, where you have to manage the resources, I think supply chain becomes very important. So in short, I would say the functions, which is procurement, logistics, everything which is part of the umbrella is supply chain management, they're all very important around. Now look at this, which I said in the beginning, procurement supply management was 60s, was purely clerical. I think 80s, it became, guys, we can't have the same approach. When some place I'm buying more, some place I'm buying less. Some items are affecting my profit, some are not affecting my profit. The risk is less, the risk is more. How could I have one solution for all? So this is where after 80s, people became more strategic. They say, guys, one solution for all cannot fit. Some items are much more risky, some are less risky, some are more risky. Some case I'm spending much more money. Depending on that, my approach of procurement, my approach of anything with the supply management has to change. This is where you can see the supply chain. So the job could be at the warehousing functions, could be inventory management functions, could be manufacturing, could be again going till to the customers around. The way I'm seeing in the supply management, the change in supply chain, again ending from supplier to customer, the focus was all about price. But over the time, it has changed, focusing on the total cost of ownership. Then became strategic sourcing. Then became the category management. The concept of category management came from the retail business. I'm head of one category. It could be garment side. One could be the beauty products. One could be health products. One could be the vegetables. You have the categories, and you are the boss of the category. You are the mini CEO of the categories around, and how you manage it category by category. But now the focus is moving at the end of the day to 2020 is value management. How we can add value. It is not just saving money. It is not just ensuring the right time, right price, this thing, but right experience for the customer around. So that is becoming much more important. Today's generation, they are not just looking at, oh, I got the right price, I got the right time, I got this thing, but they're also looking at the right experience around. If experience has been bad with the supplier or with the company, that also adds, that affects the whole chain around. So this is how I said to you in the beginning, then procurement has changed to this. Now the drivers of transformations, when we talk of anything, whether procurement, supply chain, supply management, if you look at these four issues around, technology is playing a key role today's, which I never bothered in 70s and 80s. But now from 80s onward, I think everybody talks of technology. First thing we go down to any company, any small setup, everybody need to have some software. Even with the implementation of GST, now everybody has to have something. So in short, everybody is becoming technically oriented, which in the past we avoided it. People, people, people. And people are the you people or me or whatever. So people are the one, I would say, they need to have the right skills around. If they don't have the right skills, they don't have the right certifications. I remember in the UN when I was the chairman of the United Nations Supply Chain Activity. I will not hire anybody who's not certified. And for us, certification was a mandatory. So this is how I look at it this way. Now, reason come, why should we go certification? Look at the role it has changed, whether in supply chain or procurement, because procurement is expanded now. Procurement is not just buying. So procurement has taken the extra steps It includes warehousing, it includes inventory management in some companies. So the role has expanded. So expansion of role, it has become supply management or supply chain management. So you need knowledge is not just buying, you need multi-dimensional knowledge. You need to be center of expertise in that areas around. Understand the evolution of technology. In the past, oh, everybody thought this is not my cup of tea, I'll get an IT guy to help me. Now every person has to be savvy on computers, has to be savvy on using the various tools around. I remember when we implemented ERP, I had to go personally also ERP certification. Until I'm not ERP certified, they will not authorize me to even sign and approve anything around. So that is becoming a part of it. Acts as the consultants. So this means the procurement and supply chain people are also supporting the requisitioner. As a consultant, guys, your specification needs change. This information is not complete. You need to improve upon it. Holistic relationship part. It is not the closed door room that, okay, guys, send me the requisition, I'll buy it. You are doing holistic relationship with supplier, with stakeholders, with requisitioners, trying to see the what requisition has come, the specs have come, they are good or bad. You're also looking at the stakeholders, how you can add value to it. You're also dealing with supplier, how you can build the relationship. It's a holistic relationship. And then I would say that influencing the lead change, you are the change manager in one way. So this is where, when we're talking of the role is changing, certainly you need a certification. Now, this one, I think about ISM, many of you know it. I'll just skip it very fast. I want to give more time for the question answer. ISM is, I would say, is basically the first and the largest supply management association in the world. It started in 102 years back. So this is where you can see this is the oldest, like Harvard University. This is also, Harvard University is also done around 102 years. So this one was also done close to that around 70 countries, 281 chapters. And the mission of ISM is a non-profit, and the same mission we work on it here is to professionalize procurement and supply chain management. This is why when we say the mission of this one, non-profit, because this is why you will see our rates, our charges are the lowest when I compare with any other international in India. And we also have a tie-up with the World Bank and United Nations. The United Nations also, we have a program through them called IPSCM. And with the World Bank, we've got a program called PDPP. Now, when we talk of these, our activities around, we do the competency assessment. The purpose of showing this is those who are doing certification, they can see what support they can get from us. So we do the competency assessment for each one. We can able to help you on mentoring it, where your strength is there, where the weakness is there. We are done for many companies. Recently, we did for even Reliance on the competency assessment test. We're done for Accenture. So we're done for many companies on this. Capacity development, professional certification, which I'll be talking to you, procurement and SCM consultancy. And lastly, we have got to support all of you. We have the virtual academy. Today, we have put down some certification, some program there. And our plan is that within this year, we want to come up with certifications in a small way, only for negotiation, only on contracting, only on supplier relationship management. So small subject by subject, those people who don't have time, they can do in piecemeals around. That's what our plans are there. Now, the need for certification, as I said to you in the beginning, since the world is becoming very global in terms of business. So that means there's a need for certifications around. And you want your organization, which is competing with the other world company, you want this to be a world class. So naturally, you want to ensure the benchmark which are there in the world are be able to meet it. You need people with right skills around. Now, the choices we have for the international certifications, again, I'm saying international certifications. So when I say international, I mean which are recognized worldwide. CPSM is there. It's called Certified Professional in Supply Management from ISM USA. Then we also got Model Learning System Supply Chain Management. And in the It's called International Professional in Supply Chain Management. There are 3 levels. The level 1, which is meant for those people who are fresh from college. And then we have the next one, those people who have some experience around. Then we have a diploma, which is for the managers levels around. And that diploma, which we get, IPSM diploma, is we have a reciprocity with CPSM. If you do that, you get CPSM. And if you do CPSM, you get that diploma without exams around. Now, this CPSM has also got reciprocity with, again, Procurement Associations of Canada. Certification is called SCMP. Then with the World Bank, we got CPPP and we got PDPP. So these are the ones around. The delivery models we have for all this certification is certainly one is the classroom training. We do it face-to-face, virtual classrooms, online. Like today we are discussing this virtual open house. So we can do same type of classroom as well. We do plan to do on exam 1, exam 2, exam 3. Different one will be soon coming up with virtual classroom. Online modules and networking events. I think this goes a long way. I still feel learning, since we are all grown-up people, we are not school kids, to a lot extent we learn through networking. And the networking is the one we started this WhatsApp group. We have the WhatsApp group, I would say, in all the major cities around. Because the learning has to come from you guys, from yourself. You can't expect, all the time, I think half the learning comes when people are able to network each other. I'm sitting, let's say, member of a Bangalore group, or in Pune or Bombay. I have some issues around. My other colleague who has come across same thing passes on the information to me. So in short, we learn from each other. Peer-to-peer learning is a social learning. I think that's a way to learn from each other. Now coming back to the CPSM. Now this, when we say CPSM, it is recognized globally as a gold standard, I would call, is a standard of excellence in supply management and supply chain management. The history of CPSM starts from procurement. Historically, if I go back 40 years back or 30 years back, they were an association of procurement. And from that, the journey of procurement has gone to procurement, supply management and supply chain management. Initially, it was just buying, then became purchasing, then became procurement, then became supply management, and now is expanded to connecting supplier to customer. So it's become a wider thing around as the need has changed. Now, when we say CPSM, it shows you expanded knowledge, skills, and abilities. Broadly, I would say around in CPSM, there are 3 exams. All are 3 online exams. And the time is 3 hours for the first one exam. Others is 2 hours, 45 minutes, 2 hours, 45 minutes. The key thing in these questions are, they try to assess your knowledge is one thing. They also assess your skill through the application questions. Time is the constraint. Time means that helps us to understand your ability, how quick you are in absorbing the queries and answering it around. And obviously, this is backed by the world's largest association in the field of management. And it has also got, as said to you, reciprocity with United Nations, which itself indicates the gold standard, and then with SCMP also, with Canada as well. Now, exams, as I said to you, exam 1, it covers subject like contracting, negotiations, cost and finance, standard costing working out, international business, social responsibility, and the last is sourcing. Exam 2 is all about the focus on supply chain performance part. So the very first one was a purely, I would say, more of a procurement context. Exam 2 is expanded, covering the supply chain as well. Forecasting, logistics, transportations, inventory management, organization assessment, the planning of it, project management, quality and product development. And the last is that you guys have gone through it, but now you want to be the leader as a supply chain leader. Are you really capable to be leaders. So they expect you to understand the leadership part. As a leadership mean you have to see how I motivate my team around, whether they understand the subject equally well, strategic sourcing, and the last is risk and compliance. What are the risks in this chain? How do I mitigate my risk? That's what it is. Now, coming back to the benefits of this question comes very often from all of you, many of you. Why should I do this? I'm doing this experience for 20 years. Honestly, when I see myself, even when I was working initially for 5 or 10 years, if somebody would have asked me what I have learned in 10 years, it was same what I was doing 5 years back. But when I went into the really wholeheartedly into the subjects around, you have to equip yourself with the latest knowledge. You want to make changes, I think certification goes a long way. But if you are stuck with a one function, and that function you are repeating again and again, you might say I've got a 10 years experience, but honestly, that is not changing your mindset. You're stuck with one thing. So until you change yourself, your mindset, go with the different challenges, the challenge has to be there in the function. Here, my again request to all of you is, if you're not finding a challenge, that means your learning curve has stopped. The learning curve only comes when there's a challenge in the function. So the challenge comes when you have gone through the certification, then you say, guys, I have learned this, but I'm not using it. How can I relate it with my function? Has anybody done this? So that obviously you start to correlating with that. Obviously, when you are have more knowledge, you're getting your mindset bigger, you're getting much bigger ideas, your organization also gains from it. You're able to give better suggestions, better ideas. You're able to compare your organization with other international organizations. How do you compare with them? How is the benchmark around? That's the way it is. The type of question which comes up in these CPSL or any exam, I would say any international exam, this could be recall questions. So when I say recall, that's the lowest or easiest level of learning. That means basically they are more of, you read in the book like it crammed something like a parrot and then you repeat it again, nothing more. But repeating does not mean that you are expert on that. But the application is the one which really reflects your skill. You read something about X thing, how to use it in your day-to-day life, in your today function, that's where the application comes in. And this is where you'll find many questions come with application background. Comprehensive. That means you need how quickly you're able to understand the holistically on that things around. Now coming back to the strategy part, like any exams, like any certifications, you need a strategy. That thing is very clear. Some people, I know they have come up, oh, they got a 10-year experience, I'm going to sit in the exam. But you need to make your strategy, how good you are. First thing is, go for self-study. You got two books around for in these exams. The one is, we call as study guide. Other one is called professional series. The study guide is structured really in the more like an exam basis. But if you're stuck something, you're not understanding the subject. I'm doing on strategic sourcing. I'm reading the study guide. It gives me step by step, but I'm not understanding why I'm doing this, why I'm doing spend analysis, how this can help me, what benefits I get around, why should I do the market intelligence. So then you have to read the professional series. And professional series helps you to understand a bigger grasp of the subject around. Then come my training. Now on the my training, we have the ready-made PowerPoints on our website. You can read it, you can go through it. I think gives you very good comprehensive understanding around. Boot camps, yes. You can imagine around when we have to cover, we call as a boot camps, we have to cover around 400 pages of the book. Plus if I take 300 pages of the professional series, in 2 days, it becomes really a boot camp. We start in the morning at 9. I've done some program with M junctions and others around, starting in the morning 9, goes until 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, till people have understood it. Because they are going to appear for the exam after that. So the webinars which we are doing on a regular basis, I'm sure many of you must have seen few of those. And the function of these webinar is to go subject by subject. Technically, if you go to our website or you go to the YouTube, we have covered each and every subject which is part of the various exams around. Monthly magazine is there around. Now, the recent magazine which has come from ISM, Inside Supply Management, focuses on digitalization, demystifying digitalization. I'm sure many of you have done it, but I have seen many places, oh, I know about digitalization. My first question to them is, what is digitization? What is digitalization? And what is digital transformation? Can you differentiate in three? If they can't differentiate, that means they are not understood it. They might have read some here and there, but you need able to differentiate all three around. And if I say them one step further, how will you do the transformation implementation in your company? No. Strategic sourcing, they read the book. But if I tell them, guys, how are you going to implement in your environments? That's more important around. Okay, guys, then we have the next one. I would say once you've done the study part, next is sample papers. I think many people are used to it in schools, colleges. Here we also got diagnostic kit. Online also, we can arrange the mock-up test for you guys. The group discussions. Connect with experts around. If you feel you want to connect with us, you're welcome. We can work on that basis. Like today we are meeting as an info session. We could have info session for, actually I plan to do this year now, for exam 1, exam 2, exam 3, or any certification exam, we want to have that connector. Come up and shoot on us, guys. This is, I'm not understanding around. What is the purpose of this? Let's understand much bigger way. Clarity on the concepts around. Choose the schedules properly. I think it's very, very important around. We do these exams every alternate month. Don't jump into this until you are sure, otherwise you're wasting your money. So if you want to save your funds, since you are in this profession, I want you to be saving the funds as well. You know how to save it. So till you are sure that I'm not getting 75–80% in the test itself, in the diagnostic kit, I think you're not ready. Because the passing mark is 70%. And you're doing in a comfort zone. And if in a comfort zone you don't get 80%, I think you're risking yourself to get into this around. Register in advance. Attempt the full exams. Sometimes people get fed up, they just leave it halfway. There's no negative scoring. So once you come for the exam, I would say appear the whole exam. I've seen few people, this exam is for 3 hours, the guy is, oh, I'm fed up with this. In 2 hours, the guy leaves it. So that's not fair, I would say. Analyze the result. After the results, you get obviously the results as well. You check them, reapply, understand where you're done good or bad. So this is the chain I look around, I would say, when it comes to the certification journey. But one thing I think I slipped it in the beginning, what you find around that when you start this journey, before the journey, you have to also make up your career goals. What your aspirations are there, what you want to be in 10 years. If you want to be in 10 years, that level around, what you need. Understand the course content. Please, please, certification when it comes to that, do ask for the exam specifications. Guys, tell me what are the exam specifications, what I'm going to learn. It is not the designation alone. You can buy the designation locally, many. But if you want to do a very reputed one, ask for it. Guys, what is the course content? What I'm going to learn? So learning is more important than just getting a designation. Work out the cost and choose the model accordingly. This one is again from the United Nations. IPSM we call, International Professional in Supply Chain Management, offered by the Union. It's basically ITC, International Trade Center in Geneva, which is a combination of UN and World Trade Organization. It's a combined body of them. There are 3 levels: certificate level, advanced certificate, and diploma. So at the certificate level, you basically learn up to contracting. Then comes contract management. They're coming into the advanced certificate. All this inventory management, warehousing, all those are coming around. And supply management. Come to the diploma, we're going into the more subject like e-procurement, CRMs, organization management, environment procurements, cooperative procurement, the group procurement, those things are going into those. More managerial subjects around. This is how the certificate looks like, and sample certificates. When it comes from the IPSCM, this is from our ISM USA with the gold seal in the center. This is from the World Bank. So these are the broad global certificate which we cover around. Now the next comes, why join ISM? I leave it to you to make a best judgment on this. Here our team is very committed to this. We work with a passion, most of us. We have chapters in most of the cities. So I think you can visit our site without spending much time on this. So I think you will get a fairly good idea of what extra service we support you. Now, some people have taken the membership with us. They get the monthly magazine, they got the weekly newsletters, they get the need assessment test around, my training, webinars, ISM USA website, discounted price, all those benefits are there around. Now, coming back to the 5-step process for certification. Again, I might have touched this point, but still let me re-emphasize it. Select the credential. Which credential you're looking for? Which one meets your existing knowledge level? Here I can give you one step on this, that we have set up on our website SCM quiz. You can go to our e-learning part. Under the e-learning, you'll find SCM quiz, supply chain management quiz. And it's free, doesn't cost you anything, anytime, and nobody else will know the information except you. So you can sit down for half an hour, appear for the test. It gives you, first thing is a flavor of international test. And then if you get scored on the higher side, then certainly I would say go with the CPSL and this. If the score is very less than 40%, less than 30%, nothing is impossible, I'm not saying that, then you have to choose another path which may fit with you. So each one may be working for 10 years, 12 years, but how much knowledge you have grabbed, in line with the global world I'm talking now, not in line with within your own company, in line with the global things, how much knowledge you have picked around, then you have to decide which path is good for me. Similarly, those who are coming from the public sectors, they may find the World Bank one certification more useful because this is what they're used to it. Check your eligibility part. So if you need any clarification, please do ask us. We'll be very happy to clarify. Prepare for examinations, which I've said to you in the beginning also. Self-studies, obviously very important. Online studies also available. In-person class is also available. And according to that, make a study plan. Take and pass exam. Take the exams on a competency test. And when I say pass, mean 80% marks. If you're not getting on the competency test 80% marks, you're not ready for the real final exam. And once you have passed the final exam, you can display your new credential with pride. It could be CPSM, could be IPSCM, could be PDPP. You can put this into your title as well. Now, when it comes to the practical tips, maybe some repetitions, but set the goal, create the timeline to study, take the diagnostic kit, use your score reports from diagnostic to prepare, attend our webinars. Our headquarter also does many webinars. And these webinars who have done those certification, they also earn extra continuing education hours. So this is where I say sometimes people have done the certification CPSM and they want recertification after 3 years. So we are asking only 60 continuing education hours. That means 20 education hours per year. 20 means if I take 1 day of 8 hours, it is basically 3 days of your whole, out of 365, we expect that each person will spend 3 days toward their own professions, to learning the profession, to improve the extra knowledge on it. It could be that you participate in webinars, you participate in various conferences, you may participate in some training program, or you may become a teacher somewhere in the evening in some college or somewhere in a part-time basis. Those hours we can add up now. So make things happen that way. These are the clients which we have. Now, again, I want to thank you for